Hello guys, welcome back. So let's discuss the topic first, that is the parasympathetic ganglia, and then we'll see the questions related to it. So as you all know, the autonomic nervous system, the peculiar thing about autonomic nervous system is the presence of a ganglia, and the nerve fiber before the ganglia is called the preganglionic, and the nerve fiber after the ganglia is called the postganglionic nerve fiber, which supplies to the target organ. So this is the basic scheme, and let's see the parasympathetic nervous system. So you know the parasympathetic nervous system, it consists of four cranial nerves, that is the oculomotor nerve, the facial nerve, the glossopharyngeal nerve, and the vagus nerve, and also the spinal segments of sacral 2, 3, and 4. These are these are the distribution of the parasympathetic nervous system. So let's also look at the basic ganglia. So here, this is the basic scheme. This will be your ganglia. These are the main ganglia that you have to remember. And this will be your preganglionic nerve fiber. This will be your postganglionic nerve fiber. And here are the target organs. And also the nucleus. So the nucleus basically means the collection of cell bodies or neuronal bodies. So obviously each preganglionic nerve fiber arises from a nucleus in the brain, and these are the important ones. So obviously here is the location, you know, the cranial oculomotor nerve arises in the midbrain, cranial nerve number 7 from the pons, and 9 and 10 from the medulla oblongata. So yeah. So from Edinger Westphal nucleus arises the cranial nerve number 3, which synapses in the ciliary ganglion, and from here the postganglionic nerve is the short ciliary nerves, which supply to the constrictor pupillae muscle and the ciliary muscle. So the circular muscle is also called the constrictor pupillae, and you know that when the parasympathetic nervous system is activated, it causes the meiosis of eye. That is the constriction of pupil. So now you know the nerve, you know its nucleus, that is the Edinger Westphal nucleus, and you know now the target organ, that is your eye. And what part of eye? The ciliary muscle, which is for accommodation and near vision when the parasympathetic nervous system is activated, and the circular muscle or the constrictor pupillae muscle, and the name itself tells that it constricts the pupil and thus causes meiosis. And when we talk about the cranial nerve number 7, it arises from two nucleus, that is the lacrimal nucleus and the superior salivatory nucleus, and both these have different ganglion. The lacrimal nucleus, the nerve arising from the lacrimal nucleus, it synapses in the pterygopalatine ganglion, and from there it supplies to the lacrimal gland, and obviously it increases its secretions. Why? Because it is the parasympathetic nervous system, and the stimulation increases the secretions of these glands. And another one which arises from the superior salivatory nucleus, it synapses in the submandibular ganglion and supplies to the submandibular and sublingual glands. Also, it increases their secretion. Next up, we have the glossopharyngeal nerve. It arises from the inferior salivatory nucleus and it synapses in the otic ganglion, and it supplies to the parotid gland. So another thing about parotid gland, the cranial nerve number 7, it passes through the parotid gland, but it does not innervate the parotid gland. It innervates only the submandibular and sublingual gland. So the parotid gland is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. So here you can remember like otic ganglion, parotid. So you know it sounds similar, otic, parotid, and also the facial or glossopharyngeal. So glosso has a O means otic or parotid. So this way you can remember that parotid gland is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. So next up, vagus nerve. Vagus nerve is has a largest distribution among all the cranial nerves for the parasympathetic supply. So you can say it supplies to the heart, and obviously it decreases the heart rate. It supplies to the bronchial tree and causes bronchoconstriction. Bronchoconstriction. And it also supplies to the digestive system, and obviously it increases, first of all, it increases the motility. That is, it increases the peristalsis, and also it increases the secretion of digestive enzymes, and it also relaxes the sphincters. This is all the basic function of parasympathetic nervous system, and you can all these symptoms you can remember by just two words, that the function of parasympathetic nervous system is rest and digest. So obviously to digest, the secretion of enzymes should be increased, the sphincter should be relaxed, and the motility should be increased. So yeah, and when it comes to the large intestine, vagus nerve only supplies up to the transverse colon, because the descending and the sigmoid colon are supplied by these nerves. The S2, S3, S4, these supply to the all the pelvic organs. They supply to the pelvic organs as well as the descending colon and the sigmoid colon. And urinary bladder, obviously it stimulates the detrusor muscle. The detrusor muscle then contracts and leads to micturition. It stimulates the detrusor muscle and it relaxes the internal sphincter. The parasympathetic nerve system relaxes all the sphincters, either it is digestive or any other place like here in the urinary bladder. So this was the basic distribution and function of the sympathetic nervous system. You obviously have to remember that parasympathetic nervous system is for the rest and digest. And so let's look at also, let's also look at this table. This is a table that we have to remember. Here is the nucleus, the preganglionic fiber, the ganglia, the postganglionic fiber, and the target organs. And I already told you that if the target organs are stimulated by these parasympathetic nerve fibers, what changes will occur in those target organs. So anyways, ganglia are the most important one. You have to remember the ganglia because the questions can be asked. And also after that, the nucleus and the target organs. So the postganglionic neurons, nerve fibers are not that important to remember. It's good if you remember, but also you should know that the distribution of the cranial nerves, the oculomotor nerve, the facial nerve, the facial nerve obviously has two ganglia, the pterygopalatine and the submandibular, and glossopharyngeal, the ninth one. And I told you that glossopharyngeal has an O, the otic has an O, and parotid has a O. So this way you can remember that the parotid gland is innervated by the glossopharyngeal nerve. And so obviously vagus nerve supplies to many organs, and those ganglia are not named specifically, and anyways they're located near the target organ itself. So I've not written about the vagus nerve, but you have to remember the oculomotor nerve, synapses in the ciliary ganglion, the facial nerve, or which branch of the facial nerve. So in from the lacrimal nucleus, the fibers travel in the greater petrosal nerve, which is a branch of facial nerve, and then it synapses in the pterygopalatine ganglion. Another fiber or branch from the facial nerve arises from the superior salivatory nucleus from chorda. It travels in the chorda tympani and it synapses in the submandibular ganglion. And again, lesser petrosal nerve, it from the glossopharyngeal nerve, it synapses in the otic ganglion. So this is, you have to remember, it may be asked in CROG because a few questions I've already given in ministry, so you should know this. So let's discuss the question from the ministry book. It says a patient has a lacrimation and increased salivation. In combination with other symptoms, this state is considered to be an irritation. So obviously they are not asking which nerve is blocked. They are asking which nerve is irritated or which nerve is stimulated that has led to increased salivation and lacrimation. And they're obviously asking about the cranial nerve. So if you know that a lacrimation, so if they had written only salivation, it could have been from either parotid gland or sublingual or submandibular gland, but they have mentioned the lacrimation. So obviously it is a facial nerve which supplies to both the lacrimal gland and the salivary glands. Which one? The submandibular and the sublingual salivary gland. So here the answer is parasympathetic fibers of the facial nerve, and obviously only the 3, 7, 9 and 10 cranial nerves are the parasympathetic, that is the increase these symptoms. Obviously let's look at other options. So the somatic motor fibers, it supplies to the facial muscles. The parasympathetic fibers of vagus nerve, it supplies to mainly the other visceral organs, mainly in the abdominal cavity or the heart, or mainly in the thoracic cavity. And somatic motor fibers to oculomotor nerve, it supplies to the obviously oculomotor muscles or the extraocular muscles. And parasympathetic fibers of oculomotor nerve, obviously it supplies to the eye. So this was question number 141. Let's also look at other question. So obviously the pupillary light reflex is a separate topic, but since it is related to the parasympathetic ganglia, I have added this along with the topic. So in what do we check in the pupillary reflex? That for example, if light is shown in your eye, the pupil must constrict because already there is enough light. And when there is dark, the pupil expands or dilates. So is the pupil working right or not? We check it by the pupillary light reflex. So obviously a light is shown in front of eye, and here it is shown in the left eye. And as you know from my other topic, that is visual defects topic, you know that the sensations from the medial part of retina are crossed in the optic chiasm and taken to the opposite side, while the sensations from the lateral part of retina, they are carried to the same side. So obviously you can see the yellow pathway here. So they go to the pretectal nucleus, and these two bulgings are obviously the superior colliculus. So in superior colliculus, you know, there's oculomotor nerve. It is in the mid brain stem, midbrain. And from the pretectal nucleus, the information is sent to the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, and on both sides. See, when the light is shown, obviously there's too much light, the parasympathetic nervous system should be activated to cause meiosis or the constriction of the pupil. So parasympathetic nervous system, you know, it starts from the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, and then it goes to the ciliary ganglion, and then to the target organ, that is your constrictor pupillae muscle. So an interesting thing that is noted, that if the light is shown to the left eye, not only the left eye constricts, but also the right eye. So if the light is shown in either eye, both eyes constrict. This is the pupillary light reflex. And why is it so? Because the information from the pretectal nucleus, you can see the information from the pretectal nucleus is sent to both the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. That is the nucleus on the same side and also on the opposite side. So obviously, when there is a direct reflex, that is the constriction seen in the eye to which the light is shown, but also in the opposite eye due to the crisscrossing. And this is called the consensual light reflex, when the opposite eye also constricts. This is a consensual reflex. So anyways, let's look at the question. Obviously, this much is not asked in the question, but you should know. After an injury, patient got pupils diameter dilation, a pupillary reflex disorder. They have anyways mentioned that there is a disorder and the pupil is dilated. Not because it is stimulated, but because the pupillary reflex disorder, there is a disorder in pupillary reflex and the pupil cannot constrict. So obviously the unopposed action of the dilator muscle, the pupil is dilated. And obviously the answer is muscular sphincter pupillae. And which nerve supplies it? The oculomotor nerve or cranial nerve number 3. And which nucleus? The Edinger-Westphal nucleus. It is also referred to as the accessory nucleus, for example, in this question. So they say that pupillary reflex has shown asthenochorea. So if we divide it, astheno means weakness and chorea means pupil. So obviously there is weakness seen in pupil, and which nucleus function is damaged? You know, oculomotor nerve, the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, or also called the accessory nucleus in Krog. It is responsible for the parasympathetic innervation to the constrictor pupillae muscle. So the answer is accessory nucleus of oculomotor nerve. So you should not write the simple nucleus of oculomotor nerve because it can be the motor nucleus. We are not talking about the motor nucleus. We are talking about the parasympathetic nucleus, which is Edinger-Westphal, or in Krog, it is written as the accessory nucleus. So this was about short review about the pupillary reflex and the parasympathetic outflow. And thank you for watching this.